routine. Started out on a big old green, and the earth got small as I climbed away, and the sky came up, got me in its way. I'm learning to fly.
Right, hello everybody, and welcome to part one of a multi-part series of clips dealing with a flight of 278k I undertook in the Italian Alps. My name's Mike O'Neill, and I was the pilot who carried out this flight. In the back seat, I had my good friend Bert. And on this replay, he'll be flying it, so I can look around, not pay attention to the flying, and talk about it a bit more. So, a little bit about me. I am a full-size glider pilot, although I've just decided to take a break from it as I get older. I got my silver badge some years ago in my 100k diploma. I've done a handful of cross countries over flat countryside in the UK using thermal lift. And in more old-fashioned gliders than the one we're flying today. And I've never flown in the mountains or anything like that. So in doing a flight like this, I had no idea about what you're supposed to do. My main consideration was just to stay up and not kill myself in the virtual world. The plane we're flying is a Duo Discus. And we've got full water ballast and two pilots on board, so we're quite heavy. You'll notice on the takeoff run that we have a crosswind blowing. You can see in the windsock there, which makes it quite difficult to stay in line behind the tug, especially when you're carrying water ballast, because the weight in the wings gives the plane a kind of rotational inertia so that it's you can overcorrect a bit too much and get a bit of a swing on. So, but it's workmanlike, but we get away with it. I'm hoping you're familiar with the basic instruments. That is the airspeed indicator. That one there is a variometer, which will tell you whether you're in rising air or sinking air. That's a different version of the same thing, and it has an altimeter on the top scale. And the little white diamonds and blue diamonds are all telling you what your best speed to fly is. With blue diamonds showing, it means we're going slower than optimal. If it had red diamonds above the white diamonds and no blue diamonds showing, that would be going faster than the optimal. That's a turn and slip indicator, which just tells you if you're in a balanced turn. That is an altimeter. That is an artificial horizon, which doesn't seem to work in replays, which can matter in some of these clips because I do some cloud flying and it doesn't appear to work, but it did when I actually did them. Otherwise, I couldn't have done the flights. That's a basic compass. That's a chronometer, and it says that the time in the virtual world is 12:44 hours. That's a radio setting. I don't get involved with all of that. The basic controls, joystick, air brake lever, trimmer. The trimmer is there. Sorry, the little green knob. That's a wheel brake on the front of the joystick. The little yellow knob down there, you pull it to release from aerotow. There's even a pre-flight checklist. You go through all that kind of stuff and things. And your water ballast dumping valve is there, closed and open. And then that lever with the knob on the end is your undercarriage. It's down at the moment when it's forward, and after we've taken off, or at some point before we set up on task or come off aerotow, we'll pull it back to retract the wheel. It can be a bit tricky retracting it sometimes on aerotow because you can sort of upset the tow a bit if you have to use a lot of force on that lever and you're not careful to keep the stick working behind the tug properly. This is a very useful device. It has several screens. The one we're looking at the moment is a screen that shows maps. So it shows you the starting grid, the finish grid, and if you zoom out, which you can see the whole triangular task we're on. I think it's a triangular task. And as you approach a turning point, it will show you the quadrant, the sector that you need to be in to actually qualify for turning around the turning point. It does show contour information and towns and things and stuff, but its detail is not stunning for all that kind of thing. But there are several other screens on the PDA device. The next one, I think when we rotate through them, will allow you to see your direction to fly to the next turning point, your ground speed, which is useful to know. Can't remember what else. The one after that will also show you how to steer to the target. It will show you the height you are likely to reach at the target based on your progress. It's very useful. You can also look beyond the next turning point to see what height you'll be beyond that one if it comes to it. And it's particularly useful when it comes to final glide, the point at which you might need to know that you don't need to find lift anymore. If you can just keep flying straight at a certain speed, you will reach your destination, the end of the task, the finish point, at a safe height. So it's very useful for that. There's another screen that will show you how well you're circling and your average rate of climb, I think it is. Another one that will show you the wind direction and strength. So it's a very useful device, and you'll probably see me flipping between screens on the flight. So I think that's enough preamble, really. Let us press the unpause button and go fly. So you can see that windsock is quite lively there. We've got a Wilga tug that's about to start up and come across and get us. Don't know what the delay is about, but they're doing some pre-flight checks. The little pipping sounds are for the on-screen queuing messages that for some reason don't seem to record when I'm doing a VR screen capture, which is why I'm having to talk through them all before we take off. So otherwise I would have let them do the talking a bit more. Right, okay, so here we are. We are hooked up, someone's holding the wing level, and as we start we've got a crosswind from the left, so we need to be holding rudder to stop us weathercocking into that and make sure that the interwind wing doesn't get down. And you can see it's proving a little bit of a handful. And probably not. I mean, it's harder in Condor, I think, than in real life, to be honest, because of the joystick inaccuracies and the general lack of feel. And I don't perhaps pay quite as much attention as I would in real life, because I might be doing things, lifting my visor, picking my nose, feeling for a sweep, something like that. Things you wouldn't ever do in real life, because I'm not really trying to be immersive 100% all the time in this. What I'm really interested with all of this is to try and find out what it's like trying to task through the mountains and things. Quite an interesting tow this. The first time the tug towed me off, for some mysterious reason, it just towed me into the hillside. There was nothing I could do about it unless I chose to cast off. I appear to be a bit high behind the tug here. I'm not sure whether I actually was in real life. I'm a bit suspicious that when it does replays, Condor might not be completely accurate in replaying the positions of things. I noticed on one of the clips that I've done from another flight, I was cloud flying quite a lot, but on the replay I appear to be flying in and out of cloud rather more than I recall, suggesting that the replay has positioned me not quite with the cloud. So it's positionally a bit inaccurate. I don't know. Anyway, back to this flight. As we look up at the sky, we see all this kind of melted ice-looking clouds, and these are lenticular clouds. I set the task up to have mountain wave, and these are typical indicators of mountain wave or lee wave, which is a kind of standing wave effect that's created by wind, airflow blowing over mountains and the like, and it can give you very powerful lift to great heights, huge heights, but also it can give you some great sink as well. So on this flight we do actually manage to contact wave later on. It's the first time we've ever done it in Condor. So that's the lenticulars all over the place. The other clouds that you can see are the little cotton woolly ones, like that one just above the tug now, and you'll see other ones dotted around the sky. They mark the tops of thermals. which are currents of hot air rising from the ground on a hot spot on the ground, being heated by the sun or whatever. And you can circle in those, as you often sort of see buzzards and hawks doing, because they create lift, and you can circle in those and ascend up to cloud base and into the cloud heap and things. So they're another form of lift. The next form of lift is when the wind blows on the windward face of a mountain slope, slope lift, and when the air blows into a mountain face, it's forced up over the top, and in doing that it rises, and you can ride that wave of rising air just like a surfer, really. And so throughout this task we'll be looking where the wind might be working on a slope, and therefore we can gain height, and where we might be at risk of flying into the lee of a slope and getting caught in some very bad sink and turbulence. We don't want that. So it's a constant game of working out where to fly, where the energy is, not just in the sky, but in terms of where the mountain slopes will be working. There is another form of lift that happens in mountainous country. I don't know whether Condor does very much about modelling it. There's some suggestion it might, because sometimes I've been a bit surprised at the direction the wind seems to be coming from compared to the prevailing wind where it should be coming from. But it's caused by, for example, if you take this mountain slope here, if the sun's heating it strongly, the hot air will rise up and it will pull in cooler air from up the valley. So if you look back down the valley, those mountain slopes, for instance, could pull air up this valley. Well, that's completely in the opposite direction to the prevailing wind. The prevailing wind is light, and this is strong enough. That will be the actual wind that matters, and it will allow you to fly on that slope and get lift. So, and when you fly in real gliders in mountains like this, you always start by flying with someone, a local experienced instructor, who talks to you a lot about the specific characteristics of where you're flying, the things that can happen. You don't just go flying in the mountains on your own, that's for sure. That's not very well, except in virtual reality like here, where it's great fun. So while I'm on aerotow, I'm sort of looking around, as I am for you here as well, taking in this terrain, trying to understand it a bit, trying to look at how abundant the cumulus clouds are, thinking about the slopes in relation to the wind, and in particular, if I look at the PDA, I can see that the direction we're going to set off on task is pretty much behind us, really. So when the tug turns round, or we might be about to come off aerotow, but we'll get a chance to look at it in a minute. I'll be particularly studying the direction in which we should be heading once we cross the start line and set off on task. So right now, let's wait and see what the tug does. He usually takes you to a certain height and then waggles his wings when he wants you off, but for some reason we seem to be going to a considerable height here without the tug waving us off. So it looks as though I elect to actually pull the plug at some suitable point, and I'm guessing now that I've made this right turn because of that cumulus there and the fact I might want to go into it. What's interesting though is I'm already in lift, and I'm not quite sure what the cause of this lift is. With hindsight, it might have been wave lift, but since I had never managed to capture wave lift before in Condor, I wouldn't have been thinking about that. I'd have been going for this cloud. So at the moment we've got 4 knots up, but as we get to this cloud, bearing in mind the wind's from behind us, so the lift will be slightly upwind of the cloud itself, the lift does start to increase. So I'm not bothered about climbing efficiently here. I'm just looking around, happy that I'm going up. I haven't started the task, so nothing's being timed at this stage. And I can look back, for instance, if I can start to be behind us really, so perhaps wait till we've turned around a bit. But as we turn around a bit, we can start to see, we're going to be going off on task somewhere over there. All right, Bert is flying us around this way, so we'll carry on around here, taking the train, looking at all these mountains, seeing what's going on. And yeah, we're going to be flying off somewhere over there. So that's where my particular interest lies, because I should be thinking, okay, what are we going to do about that then? How are we going to stay on slopes that are into wind and away from slopes that are in the lee of the wind? So I think I'm doing a rather lazy job at climbing in the thermal here. The clip has ended. I don't think there's a lot more to say about this one. Very soon we come off tow and head off on task. So that's it for this clip. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to post part two of this particular flight. This is the next extract, because they're all extracts. You wouldn't want to watch that every minute of all the flight, I don't think. And the next clip from memory deals with getting into a bad situation in the mountains, showing how you can get caught out, well, especially when you're like me and you've got no experience of it. So, yeah, okay. Bye for now.
I'm burning